What's going on, everybody? It's Cooper from the Back Pins. Today, we're here with the Stampede Days recap video. 3-day event. The Nashville Stampede had their home event for this PBR team season, and I thought it was a pretty good weekend of bull riding. There are some pretty tightly contested games in there. More than one came down to one bull ride, who got the job done, who didn't get the job done, etc. It was really good to watch, in my opinion. We're 4 weeks into this team series league, and I'm starting to get a better feel for it. Well, there's a few things that are sticking out to me that we'll go over in this video that I feel pretty confident in as we move forward now that we've seen enough of the team format, what the team's thought tracks is, the bull draws, etc. So with that being said, I'm really excited to see how the rest of this team series turns out because I like the concept a lot and I really hope it catches on fire for sure. But before we get into the rest of this video, don't be afraid to like or comment on any of our videos. It does nothing but help our channel out, and don't be afraid to subscribe. If you're watching the video and you like what we're putting out there, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. 2 clicks, you'll get notified when we post new videos, etc. It does nothing but help us out. But we've got a lot to talk about, so let's quit messing around. Let's grab them slides. Let's talk PBR teams, Stampede days. Let's just start out with the results from the weekend. Like I said earlier, is a 3-day bull riding, so there was 3 different games each team participated in, along with the bonus round. The results from night number 1: the Rattlers defeated the Missouri Thunder 174 and a quarter to 0. A little bit surprising, but that's one thing we'll touch on later in this video. Nothing's a guarantee in this team series. You are going to see on paper lesser teams beat the better teams. That's just how this thing's going to go, especially when you look at who gets what bulls, etc. That plays a big factor in these games. That's something I've picked up on over the last few weeks, is the bull draw really does make a big difference. The Kansas City Outlaws defeat the Oklahoma Freedom 174 and 3/4 to 87 and a quarter. Another tightly contested game there. The Gamblers defeated the Ridge Riders 175 and a quarter to 85 and a quarter. And the Carolina Cowboys defeated the Nashville Stampede 324 on forehead to 176 and a quarter. That's a tough break for the Stampede, in my opinion. Losing on your home field, you get 2 Bulls road. Ideally, I think if you get 3 road, you're going to win a pretty high percentage of your games. But 2 is not bad, and the Cowboys just came out and put it on them. I mean, that's an outstanding performance. You get 80% of them road. Tough to argue with that. Good performances from both sides, though, in that game. Moving on to night number 2, the Missouri Thunder defeated the Oklahoma Freedom 58-0. Is the only bull road in the game. They kept their score and it paid off. They kept the lowest score I've seen in this team series so far, and it pays off. And those are some tough decisions to make for coaches. Let's not kid ourselves. That is challenging, no doubt about it, but it pays off for the Missouri Thunder on Saturday night. The Arizona Ridge Riders defeated the Kansas City Outlaws 175 and 3/4 to 87. The Gamblers defeated the Cowboys 168 and a half to 82 and a half. And the home team, the Nashville Stampede, get the win with the walk-off ride from Silvano Alves against the Texas Rattlers, 85 and a quarter to 0. And on Championship Sunday, the Austin Gamblers defeated the Missouri Thunder 173 and 3/4 to 172. And this just came down to the Thunder didn't close the game out. The Thunder left that door open for Jose Vitor Leme. He comes in there and he gets the job done in a walk-off victory. That's a tough break for the Missouri Thunder. The Arizona Ridge Riders defeated the Freedom 257 and a half to 0. They shut out the Freedom. The Kansas City Outlaws defeated the Nashville Stampede 162 and 3/4 to 85. And the Carolina Cowboys defeated the Texas Rattlers 88 and a quarter to 0. Moving into the bonus round from Sunday afternoon, it was a tie at the top. Tie for first between Jose Vitor Leme of the Austin Gamblers and Marcus Mass of the Kansas City Outlaws. They were both 88 and 3/4. Jose on I'm Legit 2, Marcus on Big Black. Super impressed with both these bull rides. Jose's been a lot more points on this bull in the past, but what impressed me the most is this bull. Every time I've seen him, he goes out there, burns a hole to the left. I've never seen him go to the right. I'm not saying he hasn't, but if he has, I haven't seen it. And for me, the most impressive part about the ride is this bull went back the other way. He started to the left, went back to the right. Jose made it look so easy. I'm going to say it here. This guy's the best bull rider I've ever seen. I know you can argue about different airs, all that. This guy makes it look so easy, and he's so consistent at this point in time with the bull power the way it is. But Marcus Mast also impressed me as well. 88 and 3/4 on Big Black. Marcus Mast is putting his name in that conversation for most valuable free agent signing. This guy's dropped weight. He's gotten in better shape. I think him and JW mesh well. Marcus being ex-Amish, he knows what hard work's like. He knows what it's like to go through challenging times. I think him and JW Hart are a great match. Marcus had a really good weekend for him, in my opinion. Seals it with an outstanding ride on Big Black. And this is a bull, quite honestly, I don't think Marcus gets rode 6 months ago. I think this team deal has been super good for Marcus, and I'm super glad he's doing well. But moving on to the rest of the bonus round, everybody bucked off. Moving over to the overall event results, the Austin Gamblers walk away with the victory. They went 3-0 on the weekend. They get the job done in the bonus round. Just a dominant weekend from these guys. They're one of the better teams, if not the best team in this team series. If they can get two guys to ride alongside with Jose Vitor Leme, they are extremely tough to beat. In second place for the event, the Kansas City Outlaws at 2-1. This one might surprise some people. This is a team on paper. They're not supposed to be winning a lot of games. They're not supposed to be really competing at this level. They do have some heavy hitters. They've got Dalton Castle. Kyler Oliver still hasn't rode yet in this team series, but it sounds like he's going to be coming back soon. I ran into him in Anaheim just briefly, and he mentioned he'd gotten cleared. So I don't know when exactly we're going to see him, but I would imagine it's going to be sometime soon. So good to see the Kansas City Outlaws having a good weekend down there in Nashville. In third for the event, the Carolina Cowboys 2-1. Haven't wavered on these guys. These guys are going to be right in the thick of that title race come November, no doubt about it. In fourth, the Arizona Ridge Riders also at 2-1. Another solid weekend for these guys. These guys might not blow you away with big time scores, 90 plus point scores, but these guys are gritty. They try their butts off. I'm really impressed with Arizona and all the odds that are stacked against them. These guys have found a way to be competitive week in, week out. And I think that speaks volumes to the job Colby Yates and Paulo Crimber are doing on the coaching end and talent evaluation. They're finding productive guys on the free agent market, and they're carrying that team right now. So hats off to Arizona for that. In fifth place for the event, the Missouri Thunder at 1-2. Like I said, the one win they got, they kept it 58 and it worked out for them. They probably should have got another win, but they left the door open a little bit for the Gamblers, and Jose slammed that door shut for the victory. Like Arizona, these guys are just extra gritty. I mean, you're not going to see them looking off a lot of bulls. Ross Coleman brings a ton of energy every time these guys play. I feel like this would be one of the more fun teams to be on as far as a competitive atmosphere, just because of how intense Ross is. Like, if that doesn't get your motor running, you might want to check your pulse, because that guy is excited 24/7 when it comes to this team series or just bull riding in general. In sixth place, the Texas Rattlers at 1-2. Not a bad weekend for them. They'd like to be higher, but this is going to be tough for them. They're going to have to find a more consistent lineup if they want to move up into the upper echelon of this team series. Moving on to seventh place, the home team, the Nashville Stampede at 1-2. Not the weekend they hoped for. They didn't look terrible. They didn't look as bad as I thought they'd look the previous couple weeks, but they're still looking for answers in Nashville. And in eighth place, the Oklahoma Freedom at 0-3 for the weekend. Not the weekend Cord McCoy was hoping for. I can almost guarantee you that. I don't expect this to be the norm for the Freedom, but you got to understand they didn't have Eli Vassbinder or Derek Kolbaba over the weekend. Derek had his baby over the weekend, paternity leave. Eli's been banged up. They need those two guys back. They're going to get Lockwood back here. Should be soon. I don't know the exact date, if it's this weekend or next weekend, but he's coming back soon, and that'll help this lineup. But the biggest story for them of the weekend, I haven't heard what Casey Roberts' injury was, but to me, just looking at it, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to tell anybody I'm a medical doctor or know what I'm talking about, but to me, it looked like a broken collarbone. Something up there with the clavicle, and those deals are tricky. There's a surgery you can get, I know, but if you let them heal on their own, they take a while. And if you come back too early, they almost always break again. So if that's what it is, that's unfortunate for Casey Roberts, because he's been one of the shining stars for this team. And it's too bad he's probably going to be sat out for a while. If he isn't, that'll be great. But the way it looked, he looked pretty dang sore on Sunday afternoon. But let's take a break from this video for a couple seconds here, and let's talk about Rank Rad Fantasy. If you like the team series and the draft portion of the team series, you're going to love Rank Rad Fantasy. You get to put your general manager cap on and create your own team every week. Week in, week out, you can pick whoever you want, as long as it's within the guidelines, the rules of the game. So if you want to take Jose Vitor Leme, have at her. You can have him any week. If you want to take a guy like Cooper Davis, Connor Halverson, you can take whoever you want. It's a fun way to engage yourself in the bull riding that weekend. I've played every week in 2022 for the individual season, and man, it's a blast. It makes it so much more fun when you have a guy you need to do well or a bull you need to do well, and vice versa. If a guy you don't have on your team does really well, it just makes it for more exciting. Play with your buddies, get a little group going, some side betting going on there. Bragging rights. That's why people like to compete, because they like to say, well, I'm better than you. I beat you at that or on that day. It's a great time. I can promise you will not be disappointed. You can find them at www.rankradfantasy.com. And I will link their social medias in the description below and at the end of this video. But let's get back to it. Moving over to our rank ride rider of the week, Marcus Mass, the Kansas City Outlaws. What can you say? As a free agent pickup, this guy has way overperformed expectations. He's lost weight. They've talked about that all the time on TV. He's in extremely good shape. And the one thing about Marcus, even when he was a little bit heavier, is try was never this guy's issue. He might not be the most naturally talented bull rider in the PBR, but this guy is as gritty, old school cowboy as it gets. And you can see it. I mean, he's going to fight for everything he can in that arena. Hats off to the Kansas City Outlaws for scooping this guy up and believing in him, because right now he's getting the job done for your team. And that's been an inconsistent thing on your team so far. So Marcus Mass is definitely one of the most valuable pieces of that franchise, and I'm glad to see Marcus finding some success. And with your updated standings after the Stampede days in Nashville, Tennessee, sitting at the top, the Austin Gamblers. With 3 wins over the weekend, they jumped up a couple spots. Good for them. Jose's been unbelievable. This is going to be a team, if Jose's riding hot and healthy, it's tough to beat him. Unless he's the only guy to stay on, it's going to be tough to beat these guys. Like I mentioned earlier, if they get 3 rides, 2 or 3 before Jose, boy, good luck. That's all I can say. The Missouri Thunder are in second. They dropped a spot due to bonus point tiebreakers. They're still at 7-3. I'm not worried about these guys. They're still solid, gritty, tough. They've got all the energy you could ask for. I'm not worried about Missouri at all. In third, the Arizona Ridge Riders at 6-4. These guys are just surprising me every week. I mean, the free agents they're being forced to put in their lineup, and they're still being this successful. My hat's off to their whole organization. They're doing an outstanding job with not a great situation right now. In fourth, the Carolina Cowboys at 5-5. This is probably one of the most streakiest teams in the team series, in my opinion. They can literally go 5 for 5 one day and buck off all 5 the next. To me, it really, if their first gunner gets the ride, these guys just feed off that, and it's like a chain reaction. But in the same token, first guy doesn't get the bull road, sometimes you see them struggle. And I think when the lights are the brightest and the stage is the biggest, these guys are going to rise to the occasion. I think this team's going to be very dangerous in Las Vegas come November. It's just going to be kind of touch and go during the regular season, in my opinion. In fifth, the Kansas City Outlaws at 4-6. I did not think they would get above the bottom 6. So I've had to adjust, and I've had to realize these guys are getting it done right now. And when you look at power rankings, all that, I mean, you can't argue with what they're doing. I can only stick up for what the Freedom could be for so long until I start seeing it in the arena. That's my team, the Freedom. And right now, Kansas City is just better. That's all I have to say. In sixth, the Nashville Stampede at 3-7. Did not expect to see this team that low. This team's way too good to be in sixth. I don't know what's going on with them. McBride, it's got to be driving him crazy, and I'm sure he's just constantly thinking about the answers, and I don't have the answer right now. They're just struggling right now. So hopefully they come out of it. In seventh, the Texas Rattlers at 3-7. This is kind of where I expected them. I don't think they're one of the stronger teams in this team series. Their young guys haven't been overly consistent. Brady Randolph did get a bull road over the weekend, which is good to see. A younger free agent type guy contributing, but their lineup's just been super inconsistent. And until they find more consistency, it's going to be really tough to find them a ton of wins streaked together. And in eighth, the Oklahoma Freedom at 3-7. This is probably one of the more surprising placings right now to me. I know they're missing Chase Outlaw, which that's tough because I thought Chase was a big part of their lineup. They didn't have Eli or Derek Kolbaba over the weekend, but I think when this lineup gets back to more normal, where they're not playing all these young guys at once, these guys are going to be tough. Like if Jess comes back at 75% of the world champion, Jess Lockwood, we know he's a huge uptick for this lineup. If Chase Outlaw comes back, that's a huge uptick for this lineup. You're going to get Eli and Derek back. I'm not panicking on these guys, but until their what I want to call their real lineup gets back, it's going to be tough for these guys to string together wins. They lost Casey Roberts, most likely. That's a big loss. He's been a young guy that's been super good for them. So when you look at what their lineup could be with all their guys healthy, if you look at their top five, Eli Vastbinder, Derek Cole, Baba, Chase Outlaw, Jess Lockwood, Casey Roberts, that looks like a championship caliber team to me. So it's just health right now. That's been their biggest downfall, no doubt about it. But before we get into my post Nashville power rankings, I just want to say one thing I've really picked up on for this team series is the draw of the bullpens matters big time, big time. On paper, you can look at all these teams and look at all the superstars, like on the Carolina Cowboys, and say, gosh, how do they get beat? Well, if the Rattlers or anybody draws a better set of bulls than them and they don't draw very well, it's going to be tough for them to beat them. That's the reality of this team series. You are going to see upsets. And if Vegas had betting lines out for these, I don't think I'd be betting a lot of favorites. I don't think it's a smart move. When you look at these games, they're essentially a 50-50 coin flip because that draw makes such a difference in my opinion, and it makes it really exciting to watch because like in the NFL, if the best team in the NFL plays the worst team in the NFL, 95% of the time the better team is going to win. There's a very few exceptions and spots where that's not true. In this format, it is not like that at all. There's a lot of upsets and it makes it more exciting for the fans. So definitely when you're looking at these matchups, keep in mind the bull draw is a huge factor. And just because one team looks better on paper, that doesn't guarantee them a victory at all. So that's one thing I've really noticed and I'm going to pay attention to as this team series progresses is the bull draw is a big deal. With that being said, let's move into these post Nashville power rankings. At the top, they moved up one spot since last week. The Austin Gamblers, like I said, as long as Lemmy's healthy and rolling, good luck. If you leave that door open and they leave him in the closer role and he needs to get a ride, I'm going to bet on him every time. This guy's just a machine, probably the best, if not the best, one of the best to ever do it. When they're having fun, this team looks like they're unstoppable, and that's what I expect to see out of Austin. In the second spot, moving down a hole, the Missouri Thunder. Look, I'm not going to panic on these guys. They're not the flashiest. They're not lighting up the scoreboard with 90-point rides consistently, but this team's gritty, tough, old school cowboy, and you know they're going to be fired up every single time they come into battle because their coach, Ross Coleman, the guy is super intense, and if he can't get your motor running, check your pulse because I don't think you're alive. Staying in third are the Carolina Cowboys. They're 5-5. I do not care. This team can beat any team on any given day. You draw them up well, they can go 5 for 5. It's tough to move them any lower than this. Staying in fourth, the Arizona Ridge Riders. Like I said, you just got to look at what's happening right now. I can only stick up and vouch for like teams like the Stampede and Freedom for so long before I start seeing results and having to adjust. And right now, the Arizona Ridge Riders are getting it done, and they're getting it done consistently and moving up 3 spots from last week. The Kansas City Outlaws, they are not the flashiest. They are not the most talented by any stretch of the imagination, but JW Hart has these guys coming in here ready to fight. You tell them they're 42-1 underdog like Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson, JW Hart says, bring it on, I'm ready. And his guys are showing that. They're showing JW's attitude in the arena. He doesn't like it when guys don't put forth the effort necessary. They always put out effort because if they don't, JW ain't going to start them. So they don't really have a choice. But I'm really impressed with some of these guys they've found. Colton Hevelo doesn't look too bad, and he's a really young guy. So he's got a lot of room to grow. Dalton Rudman's finding some success that they've been using him. He's another free agent pickup. And like I mentioned earlier, Marcus Mass, when this team gets Kyler Oliver back, they're not going to be a slouch. I was wrong about these guys. I'll admit that. They're a better team than I thought they were, or they appear to be on paper. Staying in sixth, the Nashville Stampede. Head coach Justin McBride, it's got to be frustrating for him right now because on paper, this team should be up at the top or in that top 4 to 5, no doubt. And right now, they're not performing to those standards. Kaique hasn't been exactly what we thought Kaique would be. Got banged up a little bit, took a pretty big shot over the weekend. He should be all right. I don't think he'll miss much time, but that's a little concerning. This guy's been bucking off some bulls that I didn't expect him to. And right now, they're not finding consistent complementary pieces to Kaique when he does ride. So things are tough in Nashville right now. I'm not going to panic yet, but until I see anything different, I can't move them any higher than where they're at right now. Moving down 2 spots, Oklahoma Freedom in 7th. I just can't move them up any higher either. I do think eventually they will be when they get more of that, what I call the normal lineup back. But till that happens, I can't move them any higher because they're putting out a bunch of young guys with not a lot of experience. It's going to be tough for them to string together a ton of wins if that's the case for an extended period of time. And moving down 1 spot, the Texas Rattlers. Look, this is just a team where stringing together a ton of wins is going to be really tough for this team with the consistency level they're showing right now. But I think that'll be about it for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We should be back later this week with a preview video for Gambler Days in Austin, Texas. That's coming up next weekend. Super excited to see that, and it'll be interesting to see if Austin wins their home event. If they can keep it rolling. Don't forget to like or comment on any of the videos, and don't be afraid to subscribe to our channel. Ring the bell; it'll notify you when we put new videos up. Makes it super easy, convenient. Boom, 2 clicks, you're done. Let us know what you guys think of the content. We like to hear feedback. Let us know what you guys want to hear as listeners, etc., because we'll adjust accordingly. I will link our social medias and Rad Fantasy social media in the video description below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Until next time, you guys have a great one. Come back and visit us again from the back pans.